and we'll do a little Q&A with him. And then at the end, if you have questions, there's a little box at the bottom that says ask a question. So feel free to drop questions in there. There's so many people in the chat that it's hard to take questions in the chat. So we'll just go through and answer the most upvoted questions in the ask a question box. Let me get my slide shared and we can start going through. Or Betty, do you want to share for your part for the beginning? What about me too?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
One sec. Okay.
Got it.
Are we good? Can you see?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So I'll get started, eh?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. Well, first of all, thanks everyone for being here. It could be morning, midday, midnight. So thanks for being here live. And so today is the Acala kickoff. We launched Acala last night, New Zealand time, 9:30 p.m. And then it's been overnight. But you guys are still probably one of the first bunch to actually see all the inside workings of the Crowdloan and also a lot of details today. So if you got your questions, yeah, get ready to ask them. And then the agenda today.
One thing, real quick, Betty, if you could just click hide on the bottom part on your screen.
Hi. Oh, there we go. Sorry.
Perfect.
Okay. Better?
There we go.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, so the agenda today is because we have a lot of folks who potentially new, so we'll still go through a little bit of Akala overview and also share a little bit of our vision. And then we'll go straight into the Crowdloan details, outline our rewards, and probably already answer some of the questions that I just went through before I jump on the call. Yeah, and then we'll go through FAQs and also do a live demo of how to participate. Yeah, and then we'll check in with Brian and also ask him some questions. So let's get into it. Yeah, so for those who are new to Akala or those who are very familiar with Akala, you know Akala is the app store for finance. And then we have this thesis where we believe if you want to really build the best app, you need to own the hardware. This is the iPhone. If you want to build the best autonomous driving car, you also need to own the hardware. This is what happened to Tesla. They customized the graphic card to actually make their AI driving very smooth in the crossroad. So in our thesis is if you really want to build the next generation of decentralized finance applications, you need to own the full stack and you need to customize it so it is specifically powering the next generation of new economy, new decentralized finance applications. So this is all where everything starts. It also underlines why we chose the way that we do stuff and how we innovate, and then also down the track, basically the roadmap and what's happening next after Akala launches. Yeah, so and then this picture is basically shows you maybe an overview picture of what we are talking about. So Akala is building on top of the decentralized web, and then we are the decentralized finance hub on this decentralized web. And this decentralized web is powered by Polkadot at the bottom of it. And then on top of it, and this is where Akala comes in as a specialized network focused on decentralized finance. And then we have a sort of full stack approach to building the network. At the very bottom of it, we have built-in liquidity. That is to ensure any applications built on us and they can be bootstrapped very easily. And then we also have built-in primitive. That's the stablecoin, decentralized over collateralized stablecoin powered by mostly DOT and DOT derivatives and also DOT ecosystem assets. But of course, as well as top assets like Bitcoin and ETH and others. And also a whole bunch of DeFi optimizations so that applications built on Akala can run more efficient, more scalable, and also a lot safer because everything can be automated and also various mechanisms can be applied. Otherwise, you would not be able to find on a generalized platform. right? And also some UX improvements that we have done. For example, you can pay gas fees in any token. But all in all, those are just a beginning point because we have the ability to upgrade the platform and put in new optimization, new improvements as we go ahead and meet our, I guess, customers, clients, users, and to improve and upgrade without forks. So this is the power of Akala as well as Polkadot. And then with all this base layer has built out, the next layer is the open protocol layer. So this is where we put in a virtual machine. At the beginning, it will be the Ethereum virtual machine. This is what's already available. And then later on, there will be other technologies comes in. And it's also the power of Polkadot that we can just plug and play these virtual machines so that we can open our platform to have other applications to build on top of it. And this will be a permissionless layer for applications to deploy on top of us. And then on the very top layer, and this is also why we have our focus is we are not just targeting the DeFi users. We are also working with various different parties to deliver our infrastructure, our services to more people, like mass market, my friends, my parents, so these will require a lot of collaboration from various different sides. We always believe that it's the sort of the blockchain industry is just at the beginning. No one can actually do the whole full stack by themselves. And then for us, what we come in is to bring this hybrid approach is the decentralized finance and also the centralized finance and have this hybrid finance so that we can deliver all the services to the end users very efficiently and also in a compliant way. So. And then the DEP protocols that build on top of us, obviously they can be, as degen as you like to serve the DeFi users, but some of them also will be very much aligned with our vision if they want to go beyond just the DeFi and actually plug into or integrate into the backend of many of the agencies, if you like, to deliver those services to individual users or everyday users who may or may not have a Polkadot.js wallet. But that is a very collaborative effort that we're working with many partners to deliver to that end. And this is where, sort of we are heading after we launch. So you can see it is a sort of a very grand vision. And we're not launching like an empty or shell blockchain. So there's a lot of work even after we launch. We'll have to actively actually work with all of these parties to actually realize that vision is to deliver a more open, accessible finance to more people on the planet. So this is a more sort of graphical view of the platform. And on the top of that, you can see some of the examples of potential applications. But of course, even this layer is still decentralized finance. But on top of this, it could just be your mobile app payment application that get hooked onto these decentralized applications that they can actually help each other to deliver those decentralized services to more people. So, a good example is our partnership with Current.com, and there are other actually coming along our pipeline as well, which is very exciting. So Current.com actually serve over 3 million customers in the US. And with that integration, then we can actually really deliver our DeFi services and infrastructure to actually help more and more consumers to be in control of their finance, right? And then on the other side, we're also working with folks like Compound and quite a few other protocols to build up a bridge to have this global economy, to have assets flowing in and out of Polkadot, and also help the liquidity flow, really realizing the internet of blockchain as we move along. So that's a very, very high level overview of Akala. And then for those of you who know a little bit of us and also Polkadot and also the Kusama ecosystem. So obviously Kusama is all about chaos and innovate very fast, so as Karura. But when it goes to Akala, there's a higher bar for things being delivered on Akala. and we already have these folks as our security auditors. Both Ganglet and Trail of Bits have stayed on as ongoing economic as well as security auditors on a daily basis to help us to monitor as well as to audit. But also at the same time, everything that deploy on Akala will have to be audited, and we are also setting up various different type of monitoring system to kind of safeguard the system. But of course, you can't just rely on one type of auditing or passive service to safeguard the platform. So we are trying various different approaches to ensure that Akala is safe and secure. So yeah, but this process won't happen on day one. So you don't expect everything will be there on day one after Akala launch, and we'll kind of like try to do it in a way that's safe and also scalable as well. But as I've laid out on the roadmap, it's a long way to go. There's lots of exciting new projects and also new initiative on Akala. So hopefully you guys gonna be along with us for the ride for that journey. So yeah, so I think that's me for the session. And Dan, are you getting the next session?
Yep, I can share my screen now.
Okay, sure. Unshare. Okay, cool.
Sweet. There we go. Great. So thanks, Betty, for giving the background on Akala and everything we're building. As many of you are definitely aware of, we're going to be focusing now on the Akala Crowdloan and everything that's going on right now. For those of you who may be newer to the concept, just starting with the basics here, in the Crowdloan, what we're doing is we're basically kind of getting the community together to contribute DOT in order to help Akala's bid in this auction that we have to win in order to launch on Polkadot. We as a team want to launch on Polkadot because Polkadot allows us to, number one, get security for our network. So we don't have to worry about securing our network ourselves. Polkadot actually provides that security, but we have to win an auction in order to launch on Polkadot. And then the second thing Polkadot provides, among many things, is the ability to communicate with other networks on Polkadot. So this means the exchange of value, data between any applications built on Akala and any applications built on other blockchains, or as we call them, parachains, in the Polkadot ecosystem. With this Crowdloan concept, the way it works is you essentially are contributing or locking DOT for 2 years. That 2-year lock can actually become something that doesn't have to be a challenge for you, and we'll get to that in a second with this liquid Crowdloan DOT. But you essentially lock your DOT for 2 years, and then you would get this ACA reward in return for your contribution to supporting Akala. Then after 2 years, all the DOT that you contributed will actually be returned back to you, and you get to keep all the ACA rewards that you earned in the meantime. As far as our Crowdloan, we just wanted to reiterate some of the incentives and rewards and bonuses that are involved in the Crowdloan. The overall amount of tokens set aside for the incentives is 17%. This is a 15% base reward, and then we have 2% of the whole ACA supply set aside for various bonuses. As people may have seen yesterday when we launched, I guess it was earlier today for me, when we launched the Crowdloan, we released a cap. So this is the total amount of DOT that could be contributed to the Acala Crowdloan. And that cap is at 50 million DOT. So that's 5% of the DOT supply. This cap is for the entire Crowdloan. I wanted to include this third line here, which is the individual cap. And there's no individual cap. It's impossible for one individual to hit this cap. I assume. So you can assume that there's just no individual cap.
Can I add to that Crowdloan cap comment?
Yeah.
So the idea, the rationale that we set this cap. So from the Karura Crowdloan, we set it at 10% of the total supply, and then we eventually reach at 5%. And then for Polkadot, we set at 5%. It's certainly not the highest. So if you go on, and you can see we were not setting ourselves at the highest dot supply for a number of reasons. Number one, so basically the cap means how many total dot you can raise with this crowd loan. So if you set the supply to be, I don't know, 100 million or 200 million, then your crowd loan will continue to accept dot until you hit the cap. So that's the idea. So in order to reach a reasonable number, if we look at the supply of dot, and then 50% or more should be staked, right? Go through the validator staking and to protect the security of the Polkadot network. And then at least 10 or 20% should be transferable, because you need to pay fees and to actually use the network, voting on governance and things like that. And then the rest of 20% or so is actually for crowd loan. Right. So we want a number that's reasonably high enough so we can have more of you guys to participate, but also not too high so we drain all the liquidity in the ecosystem, because there will be other teams, other projects that will raise their crowd loan. If we do go for 100 million, if we do hit the 100 million, that means there's only another 10% or maybe 15% left for all the rest of the teams. Maybe that's not quite a healthy ecosystem then. So that's mostly the rationale for us. And with this 50 million, this is where you can calculate minimum amount of reward that you can get, right? For our supply, we have a fixed supply of 1 billion ACA, and then we're giving out 17%. So it's quite a high number, but with the cap setting at this level, everyone is going to get at least a very reasonable. But if in a hopefully an unlikely event that we hit the maximum, you still are guaranteed to a fairly good reward base. That's certainly the rationale. Hope everyone actually understand the reason behind it, and hope you enjoy that. So, sorry, Dan.
Sweet. No, thanks. I'll just keep going through this really quick. For the referral bonus, we have a referral program that I know many people are even posting their links in the chat here. The way this works is, if you were on the Acala Crowdloan waitlist, you are eligible for the referral bonus initially. So we have these quests. If you were on the waitlist and you completed the quest, that's how you can get the referral code. Because when you complete the quest, your dot address that you contribute or you submit is actually used to generate that referral code. So if you are somebody, we've gotten some questions recently as far as how do I get a referral code? If you were on the Acala waitlist, all you have to do is complete the quest and you'll get your referral code. If you weren't on the waitlist, that's also totally fine. You just have to contribute to the crowd loan first, and you will automatically get a referral code as soon as you complete that contribution. So you'll see a link there, you'll see your referral code, and then you'll have a place to even share that on Twitter. So the referral bonus, if you have a referral code for yourself, you can actually refer yourself for 10. And then when anyone else uses your referral code, you will just get 5% of whatever that person would get in ACA. And that person also gets 5%. So it's 5% for you and 5% for them, kind of a win-win. The other couple bonuses below here, for anyone who did contribute to the Karura Crowdloan, our network that launched on Kusama, we're offering a 2% bonus on your first contribution. You just have to be careful and make sure you're using the same address that you used in the Karura Crowdloan, because since this stuff is all decentralized, that's our only way of knowing if you contributed to the Karura Crowdloan. So one thing to watch out for there. And then the quest completion, I mentioned this before. You can find quests on the Akala website, and maybe Josh can post the link in the chat here, but the quests are something that Brett and Robin and Chloe on our team put together. It was a phenomenal kind of gamified way to onboard and get kind of prepared for the crowd loan. So getting your Polkadot.js account, making sure you have dot in your account. If you complete that, you get an additional 2% bonus on your contribution, and then you'll also get a NFT. Couple more things here to mention. So everyone who contributes using option 1 and 2, which is the direct contribution and the liquid crowd loan contribution, will also get kind of a special NFT that was made specifically for Akala. And then last but not least, I guess going back to the referral part, we have a kind of a VIP referral program for people who are able to refer lots of people and lots of DOT. So that's a minimum of 3,000 DOT and 5,000 unique addresses referred from that referral link. And there's up to 100 people can win this, and this is an additional 10% bonus for those people. And stay tuned for to our newsletter, to our Twitter. There may be different bonuses that come out throughout the crowd loan, so we'll see how that shakes out. This is I've already covered everything on this image, but just a couple things that I haven't. The ACA that is distributed will be, first of all, distributed as soon as Acala goes live and as soon as our token transfers are enabled. So this means that tokens can be sent to and from addresses on Acala. As soon as all that happens, then this distribution of ACA rewards will happen to everyone. You'll get 100% of your ACA. So if you contribute to the crowd loan, it'll tell you, for example, that you're receiving 100 ACA. You'll get 100 ACA, but 20 of those will be transferable or liquid, as we would call it. And the other 80% of those will be vesting, or basically unlocking every block, or every few seconds over the next 96 weeks, which is basically 2 years. So you'll own and you'll see all the ACA in your account, but those will slowly unlock over time until you get to 100% of them after nearly 2 years. So if you go to the Acala Crowdloan website that is live now, it's been live for, I think now like 10 or 11 hours. And maybe Josh can post that link as well. It's also the link that all these referral links are going to. But there's 4 ways of contributing. So options 1 and 2 are the 2 options that you can do through the Acala website. Option number 1 is basically kind of the standard crowd loan, or the traditional method of doing this, where you're contributing, you're locking your dots for 2 years. The minimum DOT requirement for this is 5 DOT. And you'll, of course, receive your ACA when we go live and when token transfers happen. Option number 2 is very similar, except for when you're contributing, you're still locking your DOT for 2 years, but you actually receive 2 tokens when you get your reward. So you'll receive your ACA, but at the same time, you'll also receive this lcDOT token, or liquid crowd loan DOT. What this lcDOT does is it gives you a token that's liquid and transferable and usable over those 2 years, while your underlying DOT that you contributed to the crowd loan is locked away in the crowd loan. So with this lcDOT token, you have complete flexibility to do whatever you want. So you can hold it, you can decide to trade it for something else. There will be pairs in the DEX that Akala has, as well as all of the DEXs that we'll be building on Akala can also support lcDOT as well. So this is something to keep in mind. You could be a liquidity provider with this lcDOT. And there's a ton of different strategies and thoughts out there about how to use this, but definitely an interesting option that we've been seeing is actually being used quite a bit so far in the last 10 or 11 hours in the crowd loan. One thing to keep in mind on that too is just make sure you're reading about how it works. I think the team can post a link in here to the lcDOT Medium blog post. But the thing to keep in mind is that this lcDOT is the only way that you can get your original DOT contribution back after the 2 years. It's kind of like a receipt for redeeming that DOT. So if you do decide to do something creative or cool with your lcDOT in the meantime, just remember that you need to get that lcDOT back after 2 years in whatever way you want in order to get your DOT back that you contributed in the crowd loan. Option 3 and 4 are self-explanatory. So on the exchange side, there's been a lot of exchanges in the last couple of days announcing support for this. So I know Binance, OKEX, KuCoin, Kraken, they're all listed on our website. I may be forgetting a couple, but definitely a lot of exchanges supporting the Polkadot crowd loans this time around. And then wallets. So one team that I'm very happy is building a great wallet extension is the Talisman team. So they are supporting crowd loans. So that's a kind of a web-based wallet. And then you've also got mobile wallets like Polka Wallet, Nova, Fearless Wallet, and Math Wallet that are all supporting the crowd loan as well. So you've got a lot of options. Feel free to ask us or talk to people in the Acala Discord if you're not exactly sure which way to go. And plenty of people there to help you out. I already spent some time explaining this. I guess really quickly to reiterate the way this lcDOT works, you contribute your DOT to the crowd loan. You'll receive 2 tokens, ACA and lcDOT. When you receive the lcDOT, you have this liquidity that you can use within Acala's DeFi platform, including all the DeFi applications building in Acala's EVM. So this means you can use this as collateral, you can use it to swap, you can use it to mint the Acala dollar stablecoin. You could even use it to get DOT and stake that DOT, kind of an unlimited amount of use cases there. And then, like I mentioned, one of the most important parts is after 2 years, you need the lcDOT to redeem the DOT that you contributed to the crowd loan.
Dan, can I just add to the previous slide? Because I've been going through the questions. So I think one thing to be aware of is comparing to direct contribution. Basically, your DOT will be hibernating and doing nothing for 2 years, right? And that's why we are concerned if there are too many DOT contributed and it's just locked there and doing nothing, then it's kind of a concern, right? So this liquid crowdloan DOT is a way out. So basically, if you go through the liquid crowdloan DOT approach, at least you've got choices. And at least those choices are you can HODL. And also, as Dan said, you can trade, you can participate in DeFi, and also other new opportunities that we may not already have here, right? Because on Akala, you've got the DEX that you could do liquidity mining. You've got the Akala dollar that you can mint. But there are also other protocols that are deployed on Akala that could leverage the lcDOT and do other and provide you other mining opportunity. So at least you have the opportunities. And collectively, if we use liquid crowdloan DOT, that actually help bootstrap liquidity on Akala and also Polkadot. So basically, DeFi can also be powered by this lcDOT approach. So I think it's a very important thing to kind of note because once you lock your DOT through option 1, then you don't get a way out. But if you go through lcDOT, of course, you have to understand the temporary sort of trust by Akala. If you read the blog, you will see all the details there. But once you understand the caveat and understand the risk there, the lcDOT approach will actually give you options. Because the worst thing that you could do, well, not worst thing, the most conservative thing or risk-free thing is you just HODL lcDOT. And then in 2 years' time, it's you can redeem the underlying DOT one-to-one to lcDOT. So, and I also see a lot of people in the question area asking the price for lcDOT. So I just clarify here that the lcDOT approach doesn't give you a price. It is a token. It's a receipt of the DOT that you contribute to the Akala crowdloan, right? And then that receipt gives you the power or give you the ability to redeem one DOT to one lcDOT at the end of the lease period. This will be true for the Akala crowdloan and also true for if there's future crowdloan that we support and issue lcDOT, this will also be true, right? So it has no relationship to the price because the redemption is guaranteed. If you hold lcDOT, the redemption will be trustless and permissionless. That's the unique thing about our approach is once Akala network goes live, the redemption in 2 years' time or 96 weeks will be trustless and permissionless. If you hold your lcDOT, you can just redeem the underlying DOT through that process on the Akala network. And that's always one-to-one. But this has nothing to do with price. There could be DEXs, for example, on Akala that list lcDOT. It could have an lcDOT and DOT pair. It could have an lcDOT to maybe the Akala dollar pair. And that will actually give you an indication of the lcDOT price. But as you understand, if it's a DEX, then it's entirely market driven. If there's more demand for liquidity, like DOT liquidity, then you will see there's a discount for lcDOT potentially. But on the other side, there will also be some smart people collecting the lcDOT at discount, because they know for sure in 96 weeks, if I get say a discounted lcDOT, like 20% discount lcDOT now, in 2 years time, I'm going to get 100% of the DOT back. So that's also their strategy. So this becomes a very interesting market dynamic, different side or different participant based on their situation and their need. They can make their own choices. And the whole point for us to creating this new token is to empower new choices and new opportunities. So yeah, and there are some known sort of DEXs that are going to list. So Acala DEX is going to list the lcDOT, and we also have a protocol on top of us is going to release a curve for lcDOT, but there could also be others. So if you are a developer, you can start thinking what application you might want to build and leverage this this new token. You've got 2 years to innovate, so yeah, plenty of time. Yeah, I'll just add that much then, so you can carry on.
Cool. Just very quickly, the token distribution we'll just go through. I think most importantly, the community portion here, I'll go over on the next slide, but this is kind of the breakdown of the overall ACA supply. And then this is just to show you the 17%, which is the 15% base and the 2% for rewards. This is where that 17% comes from. It comes from the community portion of the Akala or ACA token supply. Then you've got a lot of other things within here. So community rewards, a foundation reserve. Build Akala 1 and Build Akala 2 were some community events that we did earlier this year to raise DOT for the Akala treasury, which is like a DAO. So the DAO is sitting on tens of millions of dollars in DOT, which we can use to kind of fund the future growth of the Akala ecosystem.
Yeah, so one thing to add on that slide is we reserve 34% of all ACA for crowdloan reward and also liquidity mining. So on this first crowdloan, we're basically using 50% of the entire reward slot for all of you, right? And it's a big number, but we are confident that because we are treating this as a distribution event, right? So most of you are here because you're supporting the network, you are the community member, so we want to give out as much as we can. But that 34% of the reward is for the entire lifespan of Akala, which is forever. So with the approach that we are doing, we are confident that even we are giving out 70%, a big chunk in the first 2 years, we will be able to continue to fund, in the future with our on-chain treasury through the Build Akala event and also other approaches that we can either self-fund or continue to collaborate and fund with the community in the future. So yeah, hopefully you like that.
Great. I was about to answer one last question about lcDOT that I think Trivium was saying. He was saying that it was similar to a liquid staking derivative. So one of Akala's products that we'll be launching very soon after launch is lDOT or liquid DOT. This is a DOT staking derivative that will be yield bearing. It will earn yield based on the underlying staked DOT. lcDOT, I understand it's similar, but the key thing to keep in mind is that lcDOT has no yield associated with it because it's a derivative of a Crowdloan DOT that is not staked, not earning interest. So lcDOT does not earn yield, but lDOT will when that's launched on Akala. So quick update on the Crowdloan. I know many of us have been watching the kind of the dashboards and everything around the ecosystem. This is about 10 minutes before the presentation today where we currently stand. So in millions of DOT contributed, Akala's at about 4.38 million, which we're very, very appreciative of and grateful for everyone's contributions. And I was surprised at the amount of accounts that have already contributed. So over 23,000 people around the world have already contributed to the Akala Crowdloan. So pretty phenomenal day so far, and I'm just really excited to see how this progresses into next week. As a reminder, as far as timelines, speaking of that, the auction begins on November 11th, which I think is Thursday. And that goes for a week. It's a 7-day auction. So we'll know the winner of the auction by the end of November 17th. So at the end of the 7 days, basically the Polkadot system will generate a randomly selected time, choose a winner, and then we'll know who won the first auction. For any team who doesn't win the first auction, their crowd loan will just roll into the second auction, and they'll begin bidding in that second auction and trying to win that. So all the first 5 teams who win these first 5 auctions will all onboard onto Polkadot on December 15th. So going into the year-end holidays, all these parachains are going to be launching, and then we'll have a really exciting start to 2022. So Josh put together this list of frequently asked questions that we wanted to quickly go through because we've been seeing a lot of people asking kind of the same things. So Betty and I will just go through these really quickly and answer people's questions. So I actually already answered this one about referral codes. So you should know that one. Why did it only show the 5% bonus when I self-referred? Are you able to answer that one, Betty?
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, there are multiple ways. You could go through the Crest. I think if you sign up before October 12th, is that the right date? You are on the wait list, so you'll get a referral code already. Otherwise, if you complete the 4 steps of Crest, you also get one since you've done the work. And I think if you also contributed on the website, you may also get a referral code as well because you've contributed. So yeah, so hopefully that's not too hard to do. And also,
yeah,
Dan, Brian is waiting to join. If you can let him on.
Bring him on. Cool.
Why did it only show 5% bonus when I self-referred? Oh, okay. Yeah, so currently on the site, maybe during a demo, I can show that. So the site shows from a participant perspective. So it shows you as a referee, you receive 5%. But there's a little link at the bottom of that screen says check rewards. If you put in your address, it will actually show both a referral bonus as well as a referee bonus. So if you've been referring people, you should see a bunch of ACA rewards there. So
cool. Why didn't you wait for people to unstake before launching the crowd loan and the Crowdloan Kickoff bonus? And we have Brian on the call too.
Hi everyone.
Hey, Brian. Hey, I don't know. Do you want to give a quick introduction for yourself, and then we'll just start to kind of go through questions and come back to you in a second.
Yeah. So hi everyone. This is Brian, co-founder and CTO of Akala. I'm not sure what else do I need to say about myself, but yeah.
The man behind all of this.
The brain behind the code. Cool.
The Gav in New Zealand.
Brian, we were just going through some FAQs, and then we'll get back to some other things pretty quickly. So one thing to keep in mind about the crowd loan versus the auction, the reason why when we were educating for the past 6 months about this process is crowd loans and parachain auctions are 2 separate but very related things. You can actually, as we saw today, you can open the crowd loan before the auction starts. So this gives teams, in our case, about a week to generate DOT contributions before the auction actually starts. But the crowd loan stays open throughout the whole auction. So you'll be able to contribute through the end of day 7 of the first auction. So that's why we opened that now. But because I just said the crowd loan remains open during the auction, everyone who is still unbonding will be totally fine. You'll be able to contribute on day 1 through 7 without any trouble. The only way that you wouldn't be able to contribute is if in the I think unlikely chance that we were to reach this 5 or 50 million DOT limit, then the crowd loan would basically be kind of closed and it wouldn't be able to accept additional contributions. So that would be the only case where you would not be able to contribute. But that's a very high number, so I think people should be fine. how long, I just answered this, how long do I have to participate? So until the end of day 7, but if you have the access to the DOT, you're better off probably doing it as soon as you can, just because of the potential for the cap. I meant to contribute and stay liquid. So they're saying I meant to do the liquid Crowdloan DOT option, but they did the direct contribution. Can they change? Unfortunately, no. So when you contribute to the Crowdloan, it's kind of the commitment for the 2 years. So if you did have additional DOT that you wanted to contribute, then you could do that in a different way. How can you check to see if you contributed? When you go to the Acala Crowdloan site that Betty will show you in a second, there's a way to actually put in your address and check on the status of your contribution. So there's a way to do that there. You can also go to any of the explorers like Subscan and put in your address, and you'll be able to see your contributions there. And this one, Betty and Brian, I've actually been told that this is happening to a lot of people. So I made a contribution, but it looks like I lost around 1 DOT in my account. And I think what's happening to people is they're under the dust limit, and they're getting like the reaping is happening to them. So we wanted to explain this to people because it is it's kind of a unique thing that happens in the way Polkadot accounts work that doesn't happen on Ethereum. So I don't know, Brian, if you can explain why that's happening and what happened and how to avoid that.
Yeah, so there is a thing called essential deposit on Polkadot. It happens on Kusama, but it's rather low value of Kusama. So on Polkadot is 1 DOT. So that means any account cannot hold funds less than 1 DOT. And the reason of the decision is to prevent the issue called state explosion. So there were a lot of DAS accounts on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other blockchains there, and the account only have tiny money that is not enough to pay for a transaction fee. So to the point that those money just left on the blockchain forever, cannot be used, cannot be touched, just that they are wasting space. So that's definitely sounds not good. Like why you want to store this guy have 0.1 cents of money in this and just cut their using space forever. So that's why the dusting mechanism is implemented on Polkadot. Unfortunately, the value is rather high on the Polkadot. So that means if, say, for example, you have 2 DOTs and then you transfer 1.5 DOTs or contribute 1.5 DOTs to lcDOT, and then you have 0.5 DOTs left, and that is below the essential deposit limit. So that means those will be dusted. Those 0.5 DOTs will be dusted and to recycle the space on the blockchain. So the best way to avoid this from happening is make sure you always have at least 1 DOT from your account. So for example, if you only have 2 DOTs and you make contribution 1 DOT, you also need to pay a tiny bit of transaction fee. So that means you will have less than 1 DOT on your account, and then you will have this issue. We do plan to improve the UI to add more warnings about this, so people to prevent people from making such mistakes.
Cool. So I guess just to summarize, it's just a way for Polkadot to avoid a lot of these accounts with very little amounts of DOT from kind of bloating the blockchain itself. So this is a way of just making sure that these small accounts get cleared. But in the case of people who want to have that amount in their wallet, they just need to be careful to just always keep over 1 DOT so that the account doesn't get cleared by Polkadot. Cool. Let's go into a demo. So for people who haven't contributed, Betty's going to go through a demo of how to actually do the contribution and show the Akala kind of Crowdloan website and the different ways to contribute, and then hopefully answer some of your questions that you might have.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, well, you can obviously join the site on the Acala.network, Akala join Akala. This is the website. If you have a referral code, you can referral link, you just join there directly, or you can use someone else's referral code there. So right now there is a kickoff bonus for extra 5%. So if you are contributing now. And then I won't go into too much detail explaining each of the options, as Dan has done a good job for that. I'll just go straight into it. And there are videos that I explain the two different approaches and also caveats. So I do encourage you to kind of like watch it. It's only like 5 minutes, right? And then you've got, I think, well, more than 1 week for the contribution. So do spend some time and then understand the whole thing before you go through it. And then I will only demo the contribute and stay liquid because the two processes are almost the same. I'll go back to contribute directly and point out the differences, but they are roughly the same from the UI perspective. So so before you start, obviously you will need a Polkadot.js extension. And many people ask about Ledger. So Polkadot doesn't quite support Ledger for their crowd loan. So we can't use Ledger here. And then there are some very advanced user would use parity signer as an air gap approach as well. So you could use that, but there are some caveats using parity signer, as you might have to set the path and things like that. So you need to make sure you understand how to use that to contribute, as well as how to use that to receive ACA as well. So that's like a side topic, apart from all the official wallet supports from mobile wallets, etc. So so install the Polkadot.js extension, make sure you've got some dot, and then just if you haven't unbound, you can check some instructions there. So once you've connected to your wallet there's terms and conditions. I also see some folks in the question asking about some specifics of the nature of the crowd loan, as well as our event and also our para job. So I encourage you to have a read of the terms. It probably will answer some of the questions that you already have. And there's also a privacy policy there. Encourage you to kind of like read that and understand the implication of the whole thing. So then you can just like accept and sign. And that acceptance is basically signing a message with your DOT account. It doesn't actually send a message on the chain directly, so it doesn't quite cost you for what I've just done. And then once you've done that, you should see your DOT balance on top of the screen. And then, so a couple of things. You should be able to see, how long your DOT is being locked. And obviously, if you choose lcDOT, it's better because, in this case, it's better because you will receive lcDOT after Akala fully launched, and then it's 100% liquid. So there's no vesting, no locking schedule, and things like that. And then for the ACA reward, it will be 20% will be transferable on launch, and then the rest of it will be vested. And then if you put in some DOT amount, so I'm going to put in 3.8. So you should always keep about 1 point some DOT in your balance. So like 1.1 or 1.2. So that's the 1 DOT for keeping the account alive, and then the point some DOT for transaction fees, as Brian explained why. And then it will actually show you your reward range. And this is a range because the minimum is guaranteed, right? As I explained, and the maximum is based on the current dots that's been contributed so far, and this number will continue to change as the max amount has been changed along the way of the crowd loan and auction. And then one thing you'll notice is it will also outline how much lcDOT you're going to receive. And lucky me. So I use this account for Karura Crowdloan contributions. So I also receive a 2% extra bonus for my first contribution. And then my kickoff bonus, and I've got a referral link. And this is where some people ask, why is it only 5%? So this only shows me as a referee. So I've used the referral code and I received 5%. So we're probably going to change it to make it more dynamic. If I refer myself, I can also see it's probably another 5% showing up here. And then there's also email. If you want to receive future communication, feel free to put in your email there. Otherwise, it's optional. And then you can submit contribution there. So this is where I will sign a transaction, and together with the terms and conditions, and all get sent onto the Polkadot chain. It does take a few seconds, but yeah, so stay zen and wait for it to complete. And then you should be able to see, let's see, a transaction here that will show up in a second. Yeah, so there we go. I think it's almost done. So yeah, you should be able to see your contribution to our account, and then also the message that you've signed, agree to the terms and things like that. So you can go through those details if you are interested. Yeah. And just be aware, for participating for lcDOT, you have to use this website that we provided, and not send the funds from exchange or any other custodial wallets directly. You have to use this website or some officially supported website that supports lcDOT. Which we've outlined in the tab here. If you're unsure, just like make sure you ask before you contribute, right? Yeah, and then and here you go. So you can check the status. There's some referral links here that you can also use to share with others, and then you are done. And you can contribute multiple times. Obviously, you can go back. You can also come back and contribute directly. So if you contribute directly, the only difference is there's no lcDOT, and then the funds got sent directly onto the Polkadot Crowdloan. So as you can see, there's some interesting thing here if you arrive here. So you can see there's already 24,000 contributors. So some of them are direct contributors. I think it's about 8,000 or 9,000 are direct contributors. There are also over maybe 12, I've done my math right, maybe 15 or 16,000 are actually going through the lcDOT. So that's a very cool number to actually watch. Yeah. Anything else? I think that's it. Oh, and then another thing is you can actually check if I just copy my link here. So another thing is you can actually check your rewards here. So if you put in your account here, well, you can see your referral code, and then you can see all your contributions, your rewards, and also a breakdown of various bonuses that you have. And also, if you have referred other people, then you can see how much referral bonus you are receiving as well. So, yeah, I think that's all.
And Betty, that's actually the link that I was talking about earlier, where if people want to go check their status, that's where you would go, right?
Yeah, so you do need to copy and paste in your account. We'll try to see if we can make that automatic link to the account that's signed in, but at the moment you have to put in your account. Yeah, I think we've done it that way because if you are a influencer, you haven't contributed, you just want to check arbitrary account, which is not logged in or something like that, you can still put in an account and you can see the status. That's why we didn't actually connect to the Polkadot.js extension, automatically. So you have more flexibility to check any account. I think you can also put in email address as well if that's linked to a referral code or something like that. So we've made it quite flexible so that you can just put in various different information and check. So yeah, give it a go and then maybe provide some feedback if you like. So yeah.
Yeah, and if you guys are going through this process and want somebody to help you, there's a whole community of people in our Discord. I think we have like 70,000 people in the Discord now. So whether it's an Acala teammate or a Acala ambassador or anyone else in the community, there's a lot of people there to help. I'm going to paste a link to our Discord here. It would be a good idea to join that if you're going through this process and just want to be able to ask questions about that. We're about 1 minute until the top of the hour, so maybe what we can do is just go through a few of the top asked questions, and we've been answering a lot of these questions along the way. So does that sound good to you, Betty? Did you want to go through something else with Brian real quick too? Or
Yeah, so I think there are quite a few people. Yeah, we've answering a lot of the lcDOT question. We can go into a few more later on. I think while Brian is here, I think people are interested to know our DApp platform. So when people can actually deploy applications on top, and then how does it different, right? So we also have an EVM Plus platform. Maybe you can outline the design thinking of building an EVM Plus, so people have a high level understanding, and also
Yeah. So firstly, we are implementing obviously the EVM, trying to be compatible with all the Ethereum and all of these smart contracts. But this is actually quite a bit challenging because EVM itself is quite a legacy. It's been built many years ago. It have made some decisions which makes totally sense at that time, but it's not anymore now. One example is, as I explained before, um, on Polkadot, they have this essential deposit mechanism to make sure the dust accounts are cleared for the blockchain, but there are no such mechanism for EVM. At the same time, we want to prevent the similar issue. So that means we need to do some additional customization to the EVM to prevent all these known issues on EVM, so it doesn't happen on Akala. So that's why it takes a bit extra time for us to implement and deploy the EVM. But right now, on the runtime side, everything's ready. So we are currently building some capability solutions to provide the Ethereum RPC, try to be as compatible as much as possible to allow existing smart contract projects to be able to, as well as all the tool chains, for example, MetaMask, Truffle, different kind of testing tools, etc., to work with Akala EVM Plus with minimum modifications. There is possible that you still some changes are required, but it should be as minimal as possible. So we are looking for get a testnet out probably next few weeks time, and then start deploying smart contract existing Ethereum projects on our testnet, and to allow people to give it a try, as well as allow developers to check the capability as well.
yeah. So and it will be permissionless. Has full compatibility with Ethereum tooling, MetaMask. Those are just the basics, right? But at the same time, there's a lot of cool new features that hopefully we can inspire new innovations in a more advanced DeFi area, very focused on building the next gen DeFi app here. So yeah, so look forward to that. Dan, do you have any other questions for Brian?
I don't know. I guess one thing that you could just talk through for people is just what do you see as kind of the biggest differences between this launch process for Polkadot versus what we went through in Karura, and like how Karura helped us with improving the process for the launch on Polkadot?
So well, Karura is definitely very helpful in terms of launching a network. Now we have done once, we got a lot of experience, know what to do. Like we have, for example, I've like documented like exact steps of how we did to generate a new blockchain, to the testing, etc. So we're just following the same procedure, and we know, for example, things are going to work. So that's very helpful. As well as Karura allow us to try a lot of new codes and new palettes, etc., to allow to us to get more confidence about deploying new features before things are deployed to Akala. So we can, for example, the liquid staking is running on Karura for some time. We made a number of improvements there. And we also discovered a few bugs, like for example, some fee calculation they were a bit off, but they will manage to get fixed rather quick. And now we all know those issues won't exist on Akala because we have already tried them on Karura.
Awesome. Yeah, anything else, Betty, or do you want to go through some questions?
Yeah, sure. Let's do questions.
Cool. Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of lcDOT, so we can just take some other top asked questions.
NFTs. So Yeah, so if you participated using option 1 and 2, you will receive a artist designed NFT, and the artist name is Riva. She's an upcoming really cool artist that does a lot of algorithmic VR and also AR, augmented reality art designs. I don't know, Dan, you can share the link if you've got that handy. But it's just like, it's an upcoming, I guess, younger artist. So we're collaborating with her. We're not going to review the design just yet, but hopefully it's going to be a nice surprise for those of you who's contributed and supporting the Crowdloan here. Yeah.
Yeah, Riva. I don't have that link, but what I'll do is I'll send an email follow-up to everyone on this call with kind of a lot of links that we mentioned throughout the time today, and one of those that I'll include is the link to Riva's information. I guess there's a lot of lcDOT questions. Can we use our lcDOT in other crowd loans? So the answer to that is no. Every crowd loan only accepts DOT. So if you had lcDOT and you wanted to use that in the crowd loan, you would have to swap that for DOT, and then you would have DOT that could go be contributed to a crowd loan. But remember, you have to have the lcDOT back after 2 years to be able to get your crowd loan DOT contribution back.
I guess something other people probably want to know if they can contribute to other projects and getting lcDOT. So the answer right now is no. We don't support other projects, but after Akala is launched, and then we will be able to do this in a fully trustless manner, and then we will be able to collaborate with other projects to allow people to contribute to the crowd loan through the Akala parachain, and then earning the lcDOTs.
Yeah, so I think one thing to clarify is technically we could. If we want to now support all the other parachains, we could. But ethically, I think if we do that, that means our vote will be holding other projects' DOTs and then holding custody, and then have to go through that trust transfer process. So we are okay to do that and then take the risk for our own crowd loan, but we don't want to do that for other project and also do that for their community. So that's the choice that we made is we will do that once we've launched our network and have a trustless and permissionless solution for all the other communities. So so hopefully that's helpful. Oh, where's our MC gone? Okay, we'll have to survive. Dan, are you still here? I couldn't see you.
I'm here. You don't see me?
No.
I see myself. Do you see me, Brian?
I see both of you fine.
Okay, cool.
Okay, it's just me then. Okay.
All right. Are we going to have the option of staking our vested ACA tokens?
Not for the vested ACA. So the vested ACA will just be vested there. You can probably use the ACA that's been liquid. So there are discussions around the token economics of ACA. So right now, ACA token has a fixed supply. So non-inflationary and potentially also deflationary model has a total supply of 1 billion, right? So what that actually means translate into the staking world is hodling ACA is the same as staking ACA with an inflationary model, and you're receiving the inflation as staking return. I hope that sinks in. So a fixed supply model, it means if you're hodling a fixed supply token, it's essentially the same as if you are staking an inflationary model and receiving the inflation as staking yield. Of course, that is the logic that how we design our token model. But as we progress, there will be other needs that we've already been thinking about and also receiving feedback is that potentially will have other utilities for ACA, like potentially a insurance fund, and also staking, single site staking for ACA. So we are considering all of those feedbacks from community. So and once we've come up with some draft solutions, then we can have further discussions, because all of this stuff. Obviously, we have a white paper. So the initial launch will exactly follow what the white paper outlined. We launched the network, launched the protocol. But beyond that, if there are proposals, there's new thinking about it. This is why we have an upgradable forkless network, right? Is with these new proposals, we can discuss, outline the risk and also the benefit to the entire ACA community, and we can do those upgrades relatively easily on the network. But of course, that has to go through a discussion, risk assessment, and also overall sort of assessment, and also probably a referendum of some sort to be voted in. So, yeah, so the context there.
Great. Couple more. Somebody's asking about if you can expand on what liquidity mining programs might look like, understanding that the details might not yet be finalized. They're asking if things like lcDOT and DOT, or let's say DOT and AUSD, are these going to be pairs that will be incentivized with LP rewards, and how might that look?
Yeah, so I think we can think a little bit bigger, because we're going to launch with a few partners. So there's going to be a party where a few other projects is going to join us for the launch. And we've allocated about 6% of our token for the first year of liquidity mining. So this will cover not only our base protocol. So the base protocol, the lDOT for sure, right? So if you move your DOT from Polkadot to the Acala network and stake through Akala, then you will get extra reward beyond the 14 or 15% of the staking yield that you normally receive, right? So this is one aspect of the reward will go to, and then on top of that, maybe you collateralize the DOT and the minting stablecoin. That's probably another area that we can put some incentives on, and then with the stablecoin and also the lcDOT and also DOT, the different pairs that we want to incentivize, then there's liquidity mining program for that. And then there will also be other protocols that are deploying on top of us. Then we will also support them, for example, maybe lending and borrowing protocols that may be lending our ACA, Akala stablecoins, and also maybe lcDOT or DOT or whatever. And also the synthetic asset protocol as well. So those will kind of like collectively also have an incentive program. So there's more than just us creating incentive programs for the pairs. And also at the same time, you got to aware there are, I think, about 10 parachains that's been joining the Crowdloan. So I think they will launch subsequently, right? So we've been the first to actually enable the XCM, so cross-chain token transfer. So we will also be listing other parachains tokens on our DEX as well, so we can support other parachains liquidity, and also use their tokens in one way or another on our platform as well, and also support them for their platform as well. So there will also be incentive programs for those listing as well. And we've created a way that you can have multiple token incentives. So potentially that the reward could be ACA, could be DOT, could be maybe other parachains tokens as well. So all collectively rewarding one pool or multiple pools. So there's going to be a variety of things. So obviously, I didn't talk specific details because we haven't got to that stage that kind of nailed down that. But you can see it's a sort of like a overarching sort of a program to cover many different fronts. So.
Cool. Thanks, Betty. Brian, I'm going to have you answer this one, and then we can probably get wrapped up pretty soon. This person was asking, when does the Akala DEX go live? And I think it's a good lead into if you could just walk through what the post-launch rollout might look like for Akala, including things like governance and the different products rolling out, including the EVM. As a reminder, I mentioned earlier that Akala, if we win one of the first 5 auctions, we will be launching on December 15th. So what Brian will walk us through is basically just what to expect after December 15th.
Yep. So after the lease 6 starts, which is actually I think currently on the more likely to happen on the December 16th or 17th, depending on your time zone, and then the Akala project will be able to generate new blocks. So probably takes us 1 week to monitor the network stabilities, um, create more nodes, collectors, RPC nodes, etc. And then it probably takes another week or so for the token distributions. That will be including dispute crowdloan rewards, etc. As well as, for example, dispute the liquid crowdloan dots to everyone. We also need to take some time to make sure all the numbers are correct. At this time, we have the sudo key, so we can do arbitrary runtime upgrades to perform upgrades or bug fix if needed. And then we'll start. This will be somewhat similar process on the Karura, and we will start enable the governance feature, and then start doing some public referenda on enable transfer as well as disable the sudo. And this will also takes probably 1 week or two. And then the next step, once the balance transfer is enabled, we can start gradually enable all the protocol features. So exact order of all the protocol to be enabled is not yet to be finalized, but we have a few protocols that are waiting to be enabled. So the liquid staking, the swap, as well as the EVM. So we'll probably enable the liquid staking first to allow the lcDOT to be minted, and then we'll also enable the swap. So we haven't decided the orders of trading pairs to be enabled, but we also have a stable coin. So probably have like enable liquid staking, enable stable coin. So we have AUSD as well as lDOTs and lcDOTs, and also as well as dots. So we have few assets, and then we can enable the trading pairs between those assets. So exact orders we still need to figure out the right orders. So then we'll enable the swaps, and incentive program will probably enable at the same time for those liquidity providers for the swaps. And then yes, we'll be start doing the cross-chain integrations with other parachains. It will also depending on other parachains readiness as well. But once those of us are ready, then we'll be able to start listing tokens from other parachains and do some more XAM experiments as well.
Cool. So lots to come. I guess the summary of that is that we'll expect to see launch on December 15th. Most likely the lcDOT staking, the Acala dollar stablecoin, and then the DEX protocol, which are all products built into Akala's blockchain. Then soon after that, we should see the EVM environment going live, and then really everything will start to grow quite a bit after all of those are ready. So that'll be early 2021 or 2022. And then next year is going to be fun to just see everything growing. So it's been an hour and 15 minutes. There's still a lot of you on the call right now. We're going to get wrapped up. I'll take some time and look through the questions and see if there's anything we haven't answered, but a lot of the questions seem to be pretty similar. I'll repost the link to the Discord here. This is by far the kind of most primary chat for the community. Like I said, there's about 70,000 people in the chat from all over the world and all different kind of languages. So definitely meet us in the Discord and come ask your questions if you have them. But everyone on the call, I know it's Friday or Saturday in all parts of the world. So it means a lot that you're here just hanging out with us, enjoying the beginning of Polkadot parachain auctions and the Acala crowdloan. For all of you who have contributed or planning on contributing, thanks a lot for your support. We're looking forward to kind of going throughout this whole process with you and really building out the Akala community and ecosystem over the coming years. So thanks for joining. We'll be keeping in touch over the coming weeks with just like information and continuing to keep the conversation going. So we'll see you all soon. And thanks, Betty and Brian, for coming too.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.